In the dead of a stormy night, when darkness swallowed the quiet suburban streets and a harsh wind howled through barren alleys, a piercing wail of sirens shattered the silence. The flashing blue and red lights danced erratically over rain-slicked pavement as Simon, his heart pounding like a frantic drum, was roughly pulled from the sanctuary of his home. Shackled in cold, unyielding metal, he could scarcely comprehend how his simple act of compassion had unraveled into a living nightmare. Just moments earlier, he had cradled a small, trembling puppy, its soulful eyes brimming with a desperate plea for rescue, in his arms, believing he was saving a life. Now, under the relentless glare of police searchlights, he was being dragged into the unknown, questions swirling in his mind like the tumult of a storm. A mysterious, sleek black car had lurked at the periphery of his vision throughout the evening, its presence ominous and unyielding, as if it were a silent sentinel observing every move. The vehicle, with tinted windows that obscured its secrets, seemed to follow him through twisting roads and deserted lanes. Each time Simon stole a glance in the rearview mirror, the car reappeared, persistent as a specter and just as foreboding. In that unsettling moment, as the world around him spun into chaos, Simon could only wonder, who was behind this relentless pursuit, and what did they hope to gain from his compassionate act? Within the cramped confines of the patrol car, every jolt of the vehicle sent shock waves of uncertainty through Simon's chest. The hum of the engine and the rhythmic thud of tires on wet asphalt mingled with the droning conversations of officers, creating an unsettling symphony of inevitability. As he sat there, suspended between the past and a murky future, his thoughts swirled around the singular image of Lockheed, the tiny, shivering creature whose desperate eyes had captured his soul. That moment of rescue, now receding into the distance, was a beacon of innocence amidst cruelty, a spark that had unleashed forces he could neither comprehend nor control. Memories of that fateful morning flickered in his mind like fragmented dreams. The soft glow of dawn, the gentle rustle of leaves, and the faint, heart-wrenching whimpers that had lured him into the shadowy thicket of a park, all merged with a profound sense of betrayal. The rescue had been an act of instinct, an impulsive burst of empathy that had set him on an unpredictable course. Every minute in that cold metal cage deepened the chasm between his noble deed and the perilous consequences that now unfolded. Questions multiplied in his mind. Who orchestrated this relentless chase? Could the heartless soul who had abandoned the puppy be pulling strings behind the scenes? And what price would he ultimately pay for his act of compassion? In that silent tension, as rain drummed against the windows and blurred his vision, Simon realized that rescuing Lockheed was not an isolated act of kindness, but a spark that had set larger events in motion. Before the chaos of that stormy night, a simpler world existed for Simon, a world of quiet mornings and routine jogs in the nearby park. On one crisp dawn, as the first light tinted the sky with soft pink and gold, Simon set out on his familiar path. The cool air filled his lungs, and the steady rhythm of his footsteps offered a comforting cadence. Lost in thought, he nearly missed a faint, desperate whimper coming from the dense bushes along the trail. Intrigued and concerned, he slowed his pace and veered off the path toward the sound. Pushing aside a tangle of low-hanging branches, he discovered a small clearing bathed in the gentle glow of early morning. There, nestled against dewy grass, lay a tiny puppy. Its fur was disheveled and matted, and its eyes, wide with fear and sorrow, pleaded silently for help. In that instant, Simon's heart tightened with empathy. He knew he had to act. The puppy, which he would later name Lockheed for the steadfast glimmer in its eyes, was bound to a simple wooden stake by heavy, rusted chains. A small padlock, catching the newborn light, glinted as a stark testament to neglect. Kneeling beside the fragile creature, Simon carefully examined the crude restraints. The chains, though sturdy, had been clumsily fastened, an act of indifference rather than calculated malice. Moved by deep compassion, Simon resolved to free the little dog. With deliberate care, he unhooked the chains, testing each link before using his well-worn bolt cutter to snap the padlock. The metallic clatter as the lock fell to the ground broke the spell, stirring a long dormant force of hope. Lockheed, initially skittish and withdrawn, began to relax in Simon's gentle hold. Its eyes softened, and a tentative wag of its tail spoke of emerging trust. Without hesitation, Simon wrapped Lockheed in a spare blanket and carried the puppy back to his car, parked at the park's edge. The journey home was silent, punctuated by the steady hum of the engine and the soft rustle of wind. As the sun climbed higher, illuminating the world with renewal, Simon's mind buzzed with questions. Who could abandon such an innocent soul? And why had fate brought them together? At home, his wife Tasha immediately sensed the gravity of the moment. Together, they cared for the rescued pup. Tasha prepared nourishing food and a warm resting place, while Simon removed the remnants of the chains, determined to erase every trace of cruelty. In those tender moments, saving a life took on monumental significance. Yet, beneath the relief, a subtle unease lingered, a whisper that this rescue was merely the opening chapter of a more perilous tale. After settling Lockheed into their home, Simon sat quietly at the kitchen table, replaying every detail of the rescue. The soft morning light, the dewy grass, the helpless eyes, all were etched into his memory. The thought that someone could abandon such a fragile creature gnawed at him, fueling a promise to protect not only Lockheed, but every innocent being marred by cruelty. As he sipped his coffee, he considered that this might not be an isolated act of neglect, but part of a darker undercurrent, a web of indifference and hidden malice. With each heartbeat, his resolve to uncover the truth grew stronger. In that reflective silence, Simon vowed to dig deeper and piece together every hidden clue, even if it meant venturing into uncharted dangers. Over the course of the following week, the ripple effects of Lockheed's rescue began to reveal themselves in unsettling ways. At first, Simon brushed off the disquieting sensation of being watched as residual anxiety from the rescue. Yet, as he walked with Lockheed and their 2 golden retrievers in the park where the puppy had been found, a persistent dark silhouette caught his eye. A sleek black car that seemed to shadow his every step. Each time he changed his route, the car reappeared in the distance, its silent presence amplifying his growing sense of vulnerability. One crisp afternoon, while the family strolled beneath the familiar canopy of trees, Simon's unease deepened. In a quiet corner of the park, hidden beneath the boughs of an ancient oak, he glimpsed a solitary man disappearing into the shadows. The brief encounter left him with the unnerving conviction that someone was watching and tracking his movements. Though Tasha tried to reassure him with a gentle smile, he could not shake the impression of hidden eyes and unseen threats. Determined to unravel the mystery, Simon began quietly investigating the origins of the dark car. He reviewed local security footage, inquired discreetly with neighbors, and even contacted an old friend skilled in surveillance. Yet every lead turned cold, and the car continued its spectral pursuit, always remaining just out of reach. In a desperate bid to gather evidence, he even considered planting a tracking device, though the risk of detection was too great. One evening, after a day of fruitless inquiries, Simon and Tasha took a different route home. For a moment, relief washed over them as the ominous car vanished. But near their street, Simon's heart froze when he saw the same black car moving slowly past their house, a shadowy figure inside photographing their home. In that instant, he committed the license plate to memory. Before he could fully process this revelation, a contingent of police vehicles arrived. In a whirlwind of confusion, officers swiftly surrounded the house. Simon and Tasha were separated, with Simon being handcuffed while an officer confiscated Lockheed under stern orders. Despite his frantic questions, the authorities offered only curt, ambiguous replies. Inside the stark confines of the police station, tension hung thick in the air. In a private room, a distraught man named Frank confronted them, accusing Simon and Tasha of stealing his cherished pet. His voice, heavy with betrayal and sorrow, recounted how his ex-partner had abandoned the dog, leaving him desperate. Simon, though shaken, calmly recounted the morning's events, the discovery of the chained puppy, the desperate rescue, and the care they had provided. Tasha echoed his words, affirming that their actions sprang solely from compassion. Gradually, Frank's anger subsided as he recognized the sincerity in their accounts. He explained that his ex-partner had abandoned his pet, causing him immense grief. Though the misunderstanding was painful, Frank expressed gratitude for their genuine concern for the animal. In the days that followed, a tentative understanding emerged among them. Simon, Tasha, and Frank agreed to meet periodically to ensure Lockheed, now a symbol of resilience and vulnerability, received proper care. Though the mystery of the dark car and the unseen watcher lingered, their shared experience forged an unexpected alliance, a bond born of fear, uncertainty, and ultimately, compassion. Even as this fragile alliance began to restore calm, Simon could not dispel the lingering shadows of doubt. Late at night, when the world was quiet, he replayed the day's events, the black car, the secretive figure, and furtive glances that haunted his sleep. He wondered if the mysterious watcher was connected to the one who had left Lockheed in chains, or part of a larger, sinister plot. The uncertainty gnawed at him, fueling his determination to uncover every hidden clue. Though he found some resolution in Frank's understanding, the enigma of that night remained, a silent reminder that even acts of kindness could open the door to unforeseen dangers.